After an enjoyable European victory over Galatasaray in midweek, it's back to Premier League business today for the Reds. Arne Slot and co hoping to produce more of the same from that win on Wednesday and maybe less of that frustration from last Sunday's draw with Spurs. Their challenge, though, made more difficult today. No Alisson or Mo Salah available due to injury. They are the two changes the boss has made today. Georgi Mamardashvili and Cody Gakpo coming into the starting 11. Their opponents this Saturday lunchtime, though, there they are. Brighton come in the form of mid-table Brighton. Fabian Hurtzler's side been in decent form, haven't they, since last month's FA Cup meeting at Anfield. They've won 3 of their last 4 games. It is a 12:30 kickoff down at the Amex on the South Coast. We will bring you live audio commentary of all the action with Steve Hunter and Ray Houghton. And here in the studio as well for all the build-up, Gary Gillespie and Jason McAteer are alongside me. Lots to come from them after we get the full details of Liverpool's starting 11. Rob Jones, there he is down on the South Coast with the lineup. Rob.
Becky, thank you very much. Good morning from Sussex by the Sea. What a beautiful weekend to be down here. The sun is shining, and as you mentioned, Arne Slot does make 2 enforced changes from the side that booked their place in the Champions League quarter-final against Galatasaray in midweek. Georgi Mamardashvili and Cody Gakpo come into the team in place of the injured Alisson and Mo Salah. So the Liverpool 11 in full. Mamardashvili makes his first Premier League appearance since the defeat at Manchester City in early November. A backpaw of Jeremy Frimpong, Milos Kerkez, Ibrahima Konate and Virgil van Dijk, who makes his 32nd consecutive appearance in all competition, the longest run from a Liverpool outfield player since Jamie Carragher in the 2009-2010 season. Gravenberch in midfield alongside the former Brighton man Alexis McAllister, Florian Wirtz and Dominic Szoboszlai, who scored that brilliant free kick last week against Spurs, the 4th direct free kick he's scored this season. Only David Beckham and Laurent Robert have managed more than that in a single season in Premier League history. Gakpo comes in up front alongside Ugo Ekitike, who scored twice in the reverse fixture in December. The subs this afternoon: Woodman, Gomez, Chiesa, Jones, Robertson, Nioni, Ramsey, Morrison and Nguema. Tashtawi is alongside me this afternoon. Good work in the Champions League in midweek, and no surprise that it is just 2 enforced changes from that side today.
Yeah, I was a little bit nervous midweek, but I was really impressed with the performance. What I loved was the intensity that I think you expect from this Liverpool team right from the off. I think it's a little bit of a blow, if I'm being honest, to obviously lose the likes of Alisson and Mo, who performed really well, but I also think Mamardashvili is a top keeper. Gakpo needs to find his form again, but I think he with regards to his press, his intensity, leading the line with Ekitike as well, I think it's like for like, and I still think we're a strong team today.
Do you think that that almost has to be the message, that the way Liverpool approached it on Wednesday night? Play like you're chasing a game, play like you're 1-0 down overall, and it got seemingly a little bit more out of them in the way that they approached it, and particularly the intensity with which they played the game.
Yeah, I think it suits our players. I listened to the presser with Arne Slot, and he said sometimes it's hard to come up against a team that wants to drop deep, and that's who they struggle against. They like to come up against teams that want to fight, want to go toe-to-toe. But also, I think off the ball, that shouldn't affect the way that you start the game. If a team's playing out from the back, the way that we were on the front foot on Wednesday night, every single one, from the trigger, from the off, looking to win the ball high, and straight away it got the crowd going, taking throw-ins quickly, taking free kicks quickly. I think that then kind of builds the momentum, and they need to show that today.
But that's what you've got to do, isn't it? You've got to force the pace, because you contrast that to something like the Wolves game in the league, where they almost got sucked into playing at the slow pace that Wolves wanted them to play at.
Yeah, and let's not shy away from it. Arne's made it quite clear how Liverpool do struggle, and teams then, if they've got anything about them, will potentially play that way. I think the good thing and the positive thing today is Brighton won't be doing that. When you listen to the presser of the manager, he wants to play entertaining football, he wants to play expansive football, so I think that will suit Liverpool today.
The 2 changes that they've had to make, as you said, it is a blow to lose 2 players of the calibre of Mo Salah and Alisson in goal, but that is why you have backups, particularly in goal. It was Kevin Kelleher for so long. Liverpool will hope that Mamardashvili is able to step in the breach, as Kelleher did so many times.
Yeah, and I think it's how long. There has been kind of talks, even in the media room then, that potentially Alisson could be out for a long time, and I think where Liverpool are right now with Champions League, with FA Cup, we're trying to chase for them Champions League spots. That is a huge blow. he is our #1 keeper. So big shoes to fill. And then I think with Gakpo, like you said, you know what he can do. You know on his day that he's a top player. He just needs to find form. Hasn't scored in the last 5 games, but hopefully today that's going to be the case. I
mentioned that he hasn't played in the Premier League since early November, but he has played games since then, both for his club and country. And I guess the one thing you would say is that because Alisson is susceptible more than other keepers of getting injured, it's not like he's coming in totally cold and hasn't played at all or played once or twice.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as well, with regards to the positive performance on midweek, I think it's a good game to come into. It was nervous times, but I think the way that the players reacted on Wednesday with the amount of pressure they were under, for him to then come in after that good result, and like I said, he's a top goalkeeper, and Alisson has been injury prone over the last couple of seasons, so he kind of, as a keeper, you need to be ready, full stop. When you get your opportunity, you have to take it.
And a shame for Salah as well, having scored such a great goal against Galatasaray, that he's not able to try and build a little bit of momentum himself.
Yeah, you're not used to seeing it, are you? I mean, he's a 90-minute player. I mean, he wants to play every single week. I think hopefully he'll recover quickly. He's a different type of beast, isn't he? But I think with regards to his performance, it was so positive on Wednesday, and he would want to continue that momentum. But like I said, I think it's important that we rest. I think it's a sensible thing. International break as well. Give him that extra time to recover, because it's a big business end of the season.
Well, on that point, we're getting to that stage of the season where when you play seems to be important, and there is the opportunity for Liverpool to just lay down the gauntlet a little bit to both Chelsea and Aston Villa.
I hope so, because I feel like when results have gone our way, we haven't then, got the win and the results to then push us on. United dropping points last night, I think, is key. Obviously Chelsea are away, Villa obviously have West Ham, so I think for us to be able to get 3 points today and then get into 4th spot, even if it is just for one day, it is vital now. Every single game is a cup final. We can't afford to keep dropping points. It's going to be hard today, but it's a must-win.
It's interesting though, isn't it, because the race for Champions League, it's not like some of those old title races with City, in the sense that you win every week. That there are clear deficiencies in the 3 teams, as well as Liverpool, in that little race for 4th, 5th.
Yeah, there is, absolutely. But I think also, not just with regards to the Champions League and chasing that spot, I think with regards to building momentum and performance for, obviously, the big game against City in the FA Cup, the Champions League quarter-final now against PSG, I think it's so important. Too much this season, our performance has been high and low, too roller coaster, too inconsistent. And I keep saying, when we have those big performances like we did against Real Madrid, like we have on Wednesday, we haven't then capitalised on that and then gone on a good run. We have to make sure that we take Wednesday's performance into today.
Yeah, we will talk a little bit later on about struggling to back up midweek performances the following weekend. Just a quick line on Brighton. They are unchanged from the team that won at Sunderland, which means that James Milner, who's almost as old as Jason, starts against his former club today.
That's a good start to your morning. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, thanks for that, Rob. Makes me feel great. How old is Millie? 30?
Nearly the same age as you.
Almost the same age as you. It is.
That's a compliment to me.
It is, to be fair. Good morning.
How are you?
Often we get the chance to say good morning, but it is a very early one today. Obviously, big game. They're all big games, running out of games in the Premier League. But in terms of midweek, Jace, a big confidence boost to be taken from Galatasaray, and hopefully we can carry that into today.
Yeah, I know we just joked about good morning, but I'm actually really disappointed in the Premier League and the preparations for the game. I think there's been no understanding of Liverpool's Champions League fixture on Wednesday night, and the fans. Having to ask the fans to go down to Brighton on a Saturday morning at 12:30 is either an early start or an overnight stay, which is expenditure. So, yeah, and it's been the battle, I know, with Arsene Wenger and, Alex Ferguson, and even right up to date now, Pep Guardiola and Champions League performers. They've got the same problem, and it is something that needs to be looked at. But to answer your question, yes, great performance in midweek. It wasn't just the scoreline; it was backed up by some really good play by Liverpool. There was a lot of energy about the performance. It tweaked. The system was tweaked. I said in commentary, I felt the handbrake had been taken off the players and they were allowed to express themselves in a way that I haven't seen a lot this season, and there were some really standout performances, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, we're seeing the Reds arriving there. Just saw Florian Wirtz. We'll hear from him a little bit later on in the show about how much, Gary, that win over Galatasaray has lifted the dressing room. The Champions League form has been good, less so in the Premier League. Dropped 5 points in the last 2 Premier League games. I mean, it's an obvious thing to say that we've got to be looking at picking up all 3 points today, but we can't afford any more slip-ups because, as I say, that the season is coming to the business end, if you like.
Yeah, well, it certainly is at the business end. I think once you get into like round about Easter time, we always felt that it was like, really, this is the time where it really matters. The annoying thing about Liverpool's performances in recent weeks was the fact that teams around us like Aston Villa, Manchester United, and like were dropping points as well, and we didn't take advantage of that, or we haven't taken advantage of that. We watched Manchester United last night, obviously draw, so they've dropped another 2 points. So it's an opportunity for Liverpool to like get the jump on them a little bit, albeit we're still a little bit behind them. So that's been the disappointing thing. The performance midweek is the benchmark, is like for the rest of the season. That's the kind of level of performance, the level of intensity, the level of attitude and effort and commitment that the players need to put in for the next, 8-9 games. And if we do that, then I don't think Champions League positions will be a problem. But, and it is a big but, we haven't been able to sustain that sort of like form from the Champions League and that intensity that we're showing in the Champions League into a league campaign for whatever reason. I don't think it helps, as Jason rightly identifies. I don't think it helps that we're playing at 12:30 on a Saturday morning after such a game in midweek, albeit the 3 games that we've already had this season at 12:30, we managed to win all 3 of them.
Yeah,
so,
done quite well, to be fair.
So I don't like the manager actually trying to come out, and I don't think he was trying to use it as an excuse, but he mentioned it. So the sheer fact that he mentioned it has obviously put it into the players' minds as well. And I think they've got to get that quickly out of their mind, just treat it as another ordinary game and try and keep that same intensity as we saw midweek.
You're right. I mean, it is something you don't want the players to feed into, but I think he's in his right to make the point publicly. Because it does need addressing. It does, and the more you talk about it, the more it'll be looked at, and hopefully things will start to change. Well, Gary made some good points. Yeah, you know, you want to consolidate yourself in them Champions League positions, but further up, listen, the opportunity with Villa dropping off, Manchester United dropping points, Gary's 100% right. You need to take advantage of that when you get the opportunity. There's some big games today. Everton play Chelsea. We're looking at Everton, hopefully, you know, doing us a favour. City have got a cup final against Arsenal. Obviously, there's nothing to play for in the Premier League, but you know, it'll be a big step to get closer to Manchester United, who are on a little bit of a wobble at the minute, and then you move up that table and it'll look a lot healthier. Let's
just revisit some of the big moments from Wednesday night against Galatasaray. I mean, it's no exaggeration, Gary, to say that 4-0 you could potentially say flattered Galatasaray. Such was Liverpool's dominance. 32 shots. 16 of those found the target. There were 9 big chances, XG of just under 5. I could go on, but as you said before, it's kind of a blueprint performance really to take forward.
We'll just see a missed penalty there as well from Mohamed Salah. It could have been a lot more. I thought that the performance was really, really good. Everything about it, the intensity, the closing down early on in the game, didn't really let Galatasaray settle at all. They were disappointing in fairness, but I think that was mainly due to the fact that Liverpool were that good. And I don't think you can take anything away from Liverpool. The performance was that good, and they made Galatasaray look very, very ordinary. And some of the build-up play down that right-hand side, Frimpong was heavily involved in it as well. Changing formation, Mohamed Salah maybe playing a little bit narrower as a striker, I thought helped us as well. But all round it was really, really good, and as I say, that is the level, that is the benchmark for the rest of the season. If you can get somewhere on that level, you won't achieve it or attain it every week, but if you can get somewhere near it, then I think that will be good enough to get us into the Champions League spots.
I think we're just looking at the highlights here and obviously the goals and stuff and the opportunities, but I felt over the 90 minutes, the big thing for me is, I think when you've watched Liverpool, I say at their worst, they're predictable, they're slow, they don't go through the lines, they drop off, the press is not as convincing as what it's been in years gone by, it's laboured at times. I just felt the other night, the way you speed things up is you tell the players they don't want to be in possession longer than 2 or 3 seconds, and it's 1 touch, 2 touch. And you just look at all them clips there, everything was 1 touch, 2 touch, the ball was fizzing, it was fizzed into feet. There was an energy about the play, there was overlaps. I mean, Wirtz and Salah came inside a lot to make a 3-man midfield when they went long. They did mix it up, but going long. They then win the bits and they start off in really good areas in the final third. But coming inside, give the opportunities for Kirkes and Frimpong to get down the outside. There was a lot of space for us to exploit, and they'd done it perfectly, but there was an energy to it. And I think as well, for the first time, and it's, you know, a lot of people got onto it, how animated was Arne Slot? It was like he'd had an injection of energy.
He said he almost felt that was what he felt he could do to kind of help the situation, if you like, and it worked, didn't it?
From the sidelines.
I think what helped as well, we broke the lines quite often. Whether it be Ryan Gravenberch back to his best when he lets that ball run through him, and then like breaking, like just he opens his stride and gets away from the opposition midfield players. Whether it was like through that, or even McAllister did it a couple of times as well, or like the centre backs making these passes through the lines as well. I thought that really like affected the game as well from an attacking point of view. And if we can see more of that from Gravenberch, I think again, I think it'll stand us in good stead.
Yeah, no Mohamed Salah today, as Rob mentioned with Tash. It's frustrating for him after scoring such a good goal midweek. JC doesn't get the chance to build a bit of momentum as well. But we knew that from the press conference. Alisson as well is the news that's broken overnight, where he is also missing today. And he's come on Instagram this morning, Ali, and he says, unfortunately, I will be out of action for a while, already working hard to be back stronger. Thank you for your support. So thoughts with that, not only turn to today, but obviously further on as well, past the international break.
Yeah, I think for the two of them, there's a bit of a Peter Pan element, isn't it? Where we just think they're so young and, you know, they're going to go on forever, aren't they? And they're not. You know, they're into the 30s now, and you know, it's relentless. And when you're at the top teams, you know, you play the most games because you're involved in the most competitions, and you go deep into them competitions. And, you know, when you're as big as them, inevitably you're on the team sheet more often than not. And, you know, Tash said he's a 90-minute player. Mo Salah, she's right. He's not one that comes off. He doesn't like coming off. He likes to be on there for the duration. Ali's the same. But, you know, we've got to resign our facts that they're getting old and the games are coming thick and fast. And unfortunately, like Gary rightly said, you know, we're very much at the business end. You want them in the team, but they're going to pick up injuries, sadly, and you know, it's the case with both of them. So they're going to be a miss today, but we
certainly will be.
You know, we've got players that can come in.
We have. Okay, let's cross back over down to the Amex now, where Rob Jones can give us the lowdown on the Brighton lineup. Rob.
Becky, thank you very much, and it has been much improved from Brighton in recent weeks. 3 wins in their last 4 games to just banish any hopes or any fears, I guess, that there might have been sucked into a relegation battle. As I said, Fabian Hürzeler names the same 11 that started what was a fairly unremarkable win at Sunderland last weekend. So Bart Verbruggen will keep goal. He's the only Brighton player to start every Premier League game this season. Mats Wiefer at one full-back. Ferdi Kadioglu is the other. His only Premier League goal came against Liverpool at Anfield last season. Jan-Paul van Hecke and Lewis Dunk, the 2 centre-halves. In front of that, James Milner starts against his former club for the first time since breaking that Premier League record appearance mark alongside Pascal Gross. In front of that, it's Diego Gomez, Jack Hinshelwood and Yankuba Minteh who scored the winning goal, slightly strangely, against Sunderland last weekend. And then the top-scoring Englishman in the Premier League this season, Danny Welbeck, up front. The subs, Jason Steele, who Thomas Tuchel confirmed yesterday will be part of the England party heading to the World Cup. Jorginho Rutter, Carlos Baleba is back from injury, as is Kaoru Mitoma, alongside Kostoulos, Boskagli, Ayari, Maxim de Kuyper and Joel Veltman. Tash is still alongside me. What do you think has been behind Brighton's little improvement in recent weeks?
I mean, it's a former player of ours, I think, Milner. I think they were going through a really tough period, weren't they? And then I remember the game that he started, they got that win, and then from there they've really kicked on. He's such a good player, isn't he? But just he's been there and done it. And I think he's invaluable. I think when you look through the spine of their team with Dunk, Milner, Gross, Welbeck in particular, really experienced players that have played in the Premier League, been there, done it. And then when you look then at the kind of talent in Minter and Gomez either side, really strong team.
You get the sense that maybe he's realised that, Fabian Hürzeler, that they are up alongside Chelsea and Bournemouth as consistently naming the youngest starting 11s, but he maybe felt that in the position they were in, just 1 win in 13 matches, they needed a bit of experience to see them through it.
And do you know what, as well, credit to him, he's a young manager, so actually to kind of be big enough and brave enough to say, actually, I need a little bit of help from my experienced players that are actually older than me, but, you know, who have been there and can guide him almost. And I love listening to him. I listened to his presser yesterday. I think he speaks really well and he's honest with regards to that. So credit to him for being big enough and brave enough to admit that.
because it seems such fine margins between maybe 6-7 clubs in the Premier League, even more than that, that they were up in 5th, 6th earlier in the season, but the likes of them, Fulham, Brentford, they're all so similar teams that just one little run and you suddenly go from being very comfortable to very uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's so true, and I think let's just hope that run doesn't continue, because they've got good form against us here at Brighton. And with regards to their style of play as well, they play attractive football, they create a lot of chances. And I did highlight Minter, I think it's 57 successful dribbles this season. He's someone that creates a lot. I think Welbeck will be really disappointed to have not been called up into the England squad. He's had an absolutely incredible season. He's someone that if you give him half a chance, he's going to punish you. But like I said, hopefully the boys can continue their form from Wednesday.
Let's talk about Danny Welbeck then, and as you said, he wasn't in that large 35-man squad that Thomas Tuchel named yesterday. Do you think that means it's it for him, that he won't be on the plane?
Yeah, if I'm being honest, I think that I kind of look back at my career as a number 9, and I remember when I came back from AC Milan and was playing at Reading, I was top goal scorer, exactly the same situation as him, top English goal scorer in the WSL, but was 34 years of age and didn't get called up. And I think probably, when you know it's your time, and I think he's had an incredible career. He's still having an incredible career. All you can do as a player is control the controllables, and what he's doing at club level. But at the end of the day, it's one person's opinion, and unfortunately for him, Tuchel doesn't seem to want to pick him.
I guess the other thing he's saying, that he's so comfortable knowing what Danny Welbeck could do that if he wanted to bring him in at the last minute, he could. But his argument, I guess, would be Ollie Watkins isn't pulling up any trees at the moment. Dominic Solanke's injured, has scored a couple since he's been back, but there is definitely a spot there.
Yeah, there is. And Joe, what I found really interesting, what Hurtsler was saying, his presser, about actually his personality off the pitch. And I think that's so invaluable with regards to actually not just what you do on the pitch, but actually being a player that connects players, being a good squad player that potentially he would need to be, because he's not going to be starting over a Harry Kane. So maybe that will give him the 1% that maybe he'll get that late call up.
You touched on it earlier that Fabian Hurtsler had some interesting things to say when they lost here 1-0 to Arsenal about the way that Arsenal played the game and the way that Brighton might pursue it today. They did so towards the end of last season when Liverpool were already champions, and it was a very entertaining game, and maybe you would expect something similar today, hopefully.
Yeah, I hope so, and I think credit to him. He talks about the fans and how much money these fans have to pay now to come and watch football, and he wants it to make it entertaining. And I think that Arne said he admires that as well. We want to see entertaining football, end-to-end, teams wanting to express themselves, and hopefully we see plenty of goals today. We've got two teams that create a lot, probably haven't been scoring as many as they should have with the amount of chances they've been creating, but there's got to be goals today.
And in particular, as you said, only Jeremy Doku has completed more dribbles than Yankuba Minter.
Yeah.
And if they can get Mitoma onto the field as well, who's come back from injury, that is an area where the two fullbacks, Milos Kerkez and Jeremy Frimpong, will be, or need to be, alive and alert this morning. Yeah,
and I think that's probably why Welbeck has done so well. When you look at the players that he's got in and around him, Hinshelwood as well, I think he's been performing really well. And Mitoma's probably unlucky, not to get in the team today, but competition for places is really strong for them in the forward line.
Well, we've talked about one forward player there. Danny Welbeck will be leading the line against Liverpool today. When we come back a little bit later, we'll focus on Liverpool's centre-forward, Ugo Ekitike.
Thank you both. We will be back with Rob and Tash throughout our build-up here on Matchday Live. Time now, though, for us to leave. Those of you watching on social media, if you do want to stay with us, though, you can find details right now on how to become a subscriber to LFC TV or All Red Video online at liverpoolfc.com/watch. Still to come before kick-off, we will hear from both bosses, and Florian Wirtz is on his way as well. Ray Houghton will be alongside Steve Hunter for live audio commentary at 12:30 before Ray joins Jason and myself for the post-match show. That show is also available to listen to later on in the Reaction podcast. The full match replay is on at 6 p.m. tomorrow, then 24 hours later. Neil Mellor is in the studio for detailed analysis of all the key moments from this afternoon's game. So Liverpool face Brighton today for the third time this season. The first two meetings went pretty well, didn't they? Arne Slot's men putting 5 past the Seagulls without reply.
Liverpool, you sense, really want to win today, but standing in their way is a side that is level on points with them in the Premier League right now. One of those tough sides to beat in Brighton. It's not the best clearance in the world. Won by Gomez. Chance! And it's in!